Hello, welcome to Ghost Stories, episode 1, I guess. This is a new podcast for me. I'm assuming that you've all only heard about this because of Weekly Creep. I'm Adam, one half of Weekly Creep, with my wife Dulce. This is a new podcast for purely just telling ghost stories. This is just effing ghost stories. Like the title says, I'm also trying to not swear as much, so maybe it can expand the audience a little bit more. And also, I'm liking the idea of making it a video series for YouTube. As of right now, I don't have any plans as far as when the next episode is going to come out. I'm thinking every 2 weeks, possibly every week. We're just going to have to play it by ear. I'm also hoping that it's going to be, like I said, on video, on YouTube. I'll probably post the videos to the Weekly Creep thing. I should have written stuff down for this. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for being here. Enjoy me awkwardly reading from the computer screen, which is here, and not looking at the camera. Thanks everybody, and let me know what you think. Send your own stories to justfnghoststories@gmail.com. All one word. I'll leave it in the description. And tell all your friends, all your family, any ghost people who aren't as much into the heavy research-based things. This is just effing ghost stories, like I said. And enjoy. Outside My House by Reddit user wandering_1_. I'm not sure if this would be considered paranormal or not. It just seemed weird to me. I'm an older woman. I am married and I have one daughter who is 11. This happened to both of us at separate times within a 2-week span. First, my story. My husband and I don't share a room because he snores like a chainsaw, and I apparently move way too much in my sleep. My daughter is autistic and suffers from serious anxiety, and more often than not ends up crawling in bed with me. Yes, this is significant to the story. Well, one night, she wasn't able to even make it to her own room and crashed with me. I woke up after midnight to a knocking on my window. My room is at the back of the house, and my backyard is fenced, and the gate is blocked because of my 2 pooches. I thought at the time I was dreaming, but then there was another knock on the window, and I heard my daughter's voice outside my window. "Mommy, can you please open the door? I'm locked out." My sliding door doesn't lock. We block it using a metal safety rod. My daughter was sound asleep, right beside me. So whoever was outside was not my daughter. I chalked it up to a lucid dream and went back to sleep. A week later, I came home from my late shift. My daughter was sleeping in her own bed, thankfully. I settle in and fall asleep. A few hours later, my daughter comes into my room and crawls in bed with me. I wake up and she says, "Mommy, why were you knocking on my window and wanting me to come outside?" I was wide awake immediately and sat up. "What do you mean, hon? I've been sleeping for a while." "I heard you say when you knocked on my window, 'Hey, Rabbit,' shortened from Bunny Rabbit, the nickname she's had since birth. Want to come out and play? So I came here to see if you were outside." I did not tell her that I had heard a similar thing a week prior. Like I said, not really scary, but extremely weird, especially since I'm the only one who calls her Rabbit. This next story was submitted by Reddit user sis_Gladhar, GLDHR. And it's called, "I just started a job at a bank, which was originally a government building, then Civil War hospital. So I've had a few paranormal experiences in my life thus far. Some frightening stuff, but nothing that was actually dangerous in retrospect. I recently started a security job in a bank. I work overnight and monitor the entirety of the building's interior as well as patrols of the exterior. The building is 6 stories, with only the bottom one actually being the functional bank. The upper floors are mainly untouched or outdated offices, with a few being rented by businesses. No one whatsoever is in the building at night time, and the surveillance doesn't cover the upper floors because they're so well separated from the bank. While doing my rounds of the upper levels, I checked every unlocked room: bathrooms, closets, mechanical rooms, storage spaces, stairwells, the whole 9 yards. As usual, I didn't find anything. But while I was on the 4th floor, I heard someone call my name and heard a door close. Of course, I was freaked out, but I pushed through the fear and tried to stay rational. I did a second sweep of the floor, and again, nothing. Then I got really scared. I got to the stairwell on that floor and opened the door to listen. Stairwells echo really badly, so we're taught to be silent and listen for intruders. While I'm standing there, head peeked through the door, I don't hear anything. Until I do. 2 men's voices came from the stairwell. I'm assuming from the upper floors. I announced myself and started to go up, but found nothing and didn't hear any doors open or close, which I should have. Then, I'm at the last flight up to the roof, and I hear loud steps running up the stairs. I'm absolutely terrified and prepare myself for a physical altercation. Weapon at the ready, I wait for the perp to come to me because I'm on high ground. The steps sound close enough that I should be able to see the person causing them, but I don't. Then I hear laboured breathing with the steps and still see nothing. Next thing I know, I'm being physically pushed back. I didn't fall very far, more like collapsed into the steps behind me. The sounds continue to the roof door, and to my shock, it opens with a bang and then shuts. I actually saw it open and shut. It's normally locked, so I go to secure it and call the cops, but when I get to it, it is locked. I have absolutely no explanation for this. I've never been pushed or physically touched by an entity, and I'm shaken badly. On top of this, the next night I'm sitting in the lobby with the elevators behind me. Again, no one in the building. And I hear the outdated elevator go up some floors, stop, and shift with weight entering it. Then it came back down. I'm absolutely terrified as it touched down and the doors open. No one in sight. But when I get up to look closer, steps pound towards me, push me over, then run up the stairwell adjacent to the elevator. I'm terrified of this building. I'm the first female guard they've hired. The men I've spoken to don't experience anything. It pays too good to quit, but I'm at a loss of what to do. Our third story today comes from Reddit user PDT_FSU95. And it's called House on the Lake. 22 years ago, I lived in a house on a lake. I rented a room from a lady that lived in the house. I had been living with a good friend, but moved out and needed a new place. My parents actually found the listing in the newspaper and set me up with it. Aside from a strange living condition of living in a 2-bedroom bungalow with a complete stranger in the middle of nowhere, it seemed like it was going to be nice. My new housemate had a large dog that actually kind of freaked me out a little. However, she was a super sweet dog. My housemate was never home. Between work, her friends, and her boyfriend, I saw her all of 3 days out of the 3 months I lived at the house. So, I took care of the dog. The thing about this dog, she would hide under my housemate's bed until she was hungry or needed to go outside. Never having had dogs, I didn't know any better. The first month wasn't anything to write home about. I got some awesome photos of the moon over the lake, and somewhere in this time frame I started recognizing the facts above. I also started getting a weird vibe in the house. In fact, if I wasn't in my room, I wanted to be in there only. I also only felt safe during the day. I use that term because the feeling at night was the same as if you think something bad is about to happen. The problem was, you couldn't quantify it. I started hearing knocking noises randomly in the ceiling near the kitchen. I figured it was birds because there were a lot around. One afternoon, I decided to check out the attic crawl space located above the kitchen cabinets. It was a wood door with a single lock or latch on it and a fixed handle. I had eaten lunch and climbed up there to check it out. I opened the door and didn't feel threatened or anything. I peeked my head in and looked left and right over the bedrooms. Basic attic, nothing special. I closed the door and climbed down. From that moment on, everything changed. The dog came out to the kitchen and stared at me. It didn't move. It honestly made me very uneasy. I tried the tricks. Outside, treat, play. She didn't move. So I went to my room and shut the door. In the weeks that followed, the events became more and more unnerving. I began to stop being able to sleep. I turned to leaving music on overnight. Very low volume, but still on. As time passed, I got to where I felt like someone was standing in the corner of my room. One evening, the alarm clock radio in the living room turned on its own. Firstly, I didn't know it was in there because I never went in there and nothing in there was mine. And secondly, over the last 2 months it had never gone off. I asked my housemate when I saw her next and she denied setting it. She was visibly confused as to why it would go off. I began to feel as though I was being watched in every room. I felt as though the figure in my room was always there. I began to wake up from sleep for no reason. I began grinding my teeth at night. I moved to sleeping with a black light on. It was the lowest level of light I could get in the room. Music became CDs that would repeat indefinitely. Now I would wake up, look around and see nothing, then try to go back to sleep. Now I would wake up, look around and see nothing, then try to go back to sleep. My housemate and a friend were at the house one evening, and the friend claimed to be psychic. She looked dead at me and asked me how I'm sleeping. I hadn't seen the housemate in weeks and hadn't told her about my problems. She then tells me there is an old man in my room, that he doesn't like me. I asked if there was anything I could do, and she said no. I began addressing this man and asking him to leave me alone. Life got much worse. I would be on the phone with my now wife and would fall asleep. She would tell me years later there were strange sounds that scared her. She said she would stay on the phone to ensure nothing happened to me. I began to have regular nightmares every time I closed my eyes. My work started to suffer. I was exhausted. I began to see a dark, cloud-like mist that appeared to pour out of the cinder block wall, with the lights on, in the corner the man had been reportedly standing in. I would walk over and touch the area. Nothing there. I go back to bed and still see it happening. My wife was getting ready one morning and while putting on makeup, she told me the face wasn't hers. She left the bathroom and didn't go back. That night we were both asleep. She had become accustomed to my nightmares at this point. I had a dream that she and I were in my car and driving down the road. It was nice. I look at her and then back at the road in time to see 3 children in the road. The next sequence happened so fast I had no time to react. Each face hit the windshield and appeared zombie-like. I immediately awoke. I was sweating, shaking, and scared. My wife was instantly awake also. She asked what happened. I relayed the above story, and her face lost colour. She looked very concerned. Thinking it was the content of the dream, I apologised. She sat, silent, long enough to make me wonder if something was wrong with me. She broke the silence and said, "Just before you woke me, I dreamed that we had just gotten into your car." We left, and the next day I found somewhere else to stay. We moved to another state, and the first night in the new place, I slept, non-stop. I woke up rested and recognized the silence in my head. The last story for this week was submitted by Reddit user Murphy0Wesley. I've been seeing a woman in a black hooded robe appearing recently. I used to have interactions like this when I was younger, but not anything similar anytime recently. She has similar stature to my partner, so it's thrown me off more than once. I never see her directly. It started off seeing her standing near the tub across the walk from the shower. But when I got out, the door was still locked and my partner was in the living room. It's gotten to the point now where I saw her standing directly in front of the door to the walk-in shower. But when I opened it, nothing was in the way. I've seen her now in multiple places, but she always catches the corner of my eye. I saw her multiple times next to the bed, walking into the bedroom. And I've even seen her standing by the sign out front of the driveway at my house. I'm not sure who she is. I can't ever see her face clearly enough with the way the hood is pulled down. I thought that you might have some ideas, if not answers. I just recently went through a house fire and I felt like my heart is about to give out lately, so I'm wondering if she is death or a similar entity trying to comfort me. I thought my journey was just starting, but maybe it's already over. I'm 25 in Earth years. Thank you everybody for listening to this collection of ghost stories that I found. Obviously I didn't write any of them. These are all from Reddit users. I've gotten their permission to share these stories. Feel free to go online, interact with these people. If you have any questions, if you have your own stories, please submit them to justfnghoststories@gmail.com. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, listening to the first episode of Just Effin' Ghost Stories. That name might change.